Welcome back. Segment number 4. I'm Jennifer Fierro, your broad podcaster here in the Highland Lakes with Art Dlugach, the voice of the Llano Yellow Jackets. I think Art and I wanted to touch on the Big 12 a little bit and talk about what's happening in college football. I'm going to give you the floor. Go ahead.
Well, I've written a story for the Horseshoe Bay Beacon, and the headline is there a bad team in the Big 12? I don't think so. I'm not so sure there's a national champion there, but I will assure you that there's parity in this league and a lot of good teams, witnessed by the fact that Kansas laid 55 on West Virginia in an overtime victory this past Saturday. And normally Kansas wins its 1 or 2 out of 3 of their non-conference games and loses the rest. Maybe not so this year. Well, let's start with Texas. A very, very tough loss. As you know, I mentioned this so many times, I'm not a Texas fan. I went to Baylor, but I really felt for Texas fans losing 20-19 to number 1 Alabama and played them toe-to-toe for sure. And it was just a most difficult defeat. First of all, Quinn Ewers goes down rather early, the quarterback. Hudson Card comes in. He did fine, if not great. Then he gets hurt, and we're not sure if he will play Saturday against UTSA, a very good team, by the way. And my suggestion is, if Card cannot play, instead of going to Charles Wright, number 3, I would play Roschon Johnson, the one-time quarterback, who's an excellent runner, and I think he can throw the ball 8, 10, 12 times a game and run along with Bijan if Bijan is not hurt. And so he had an MRI. We'll find out about him. He is a must for that offense. So I think Texas fans have a lot to look forward to this season. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State both won. Haven't played great teams, but they've done their jobs. Texas Tech with a couple of victories, an overtime win over Houston, 33-30. Coach Joey McGuire in his first year for the Red Raiders, so they're off to a fine start. Now, Kansas State is always sort of Bill Snyder pretty good. He's not coaching anymore, but I think that's always a team that you worry about. TCU, we're not sure about, but Sonny Dykes, another fine first-year coach with that team, and I think they will do all right. Baylor played a good game at Brigham Young, a ranked team, and lost in overtime, so that was not a bad loss for the Bears. So that I'm not sure I got in all the Big 12. Got in most of them, and I think there's just a lot of fine football 11s there in the Big 12, and it should be a very interesting regular season when those 10 teams play each other 9 times.
Agreed. I do think Texas will. Jeff Traylor is a former coach for the Texas Longhorns. He was on Charlie Strong's staff. Jeff and Joey McGuire are actually on the cover of Dave Campbell's Texas Football because both of those coaches got their start in Texas high school football. So they are part of the Texas high school football ranks in many ways, and very, very successful high school football coaches who found places on college staffs and then took their shot to become collegiate head coaches, and so far have been doing a great job. That's why let's see, was that UTSA at Texas Tech on Saturday, or was that Houston? No, it was Houston.
Houston was there. UTSA at Austin on Saturday, and that Frank Harris is plenty good for the Roadrunners, the quarterback. UTSA beat Army 41-38, also in overtime this past week.
That's it. I knew there were 2 overtimes. So Houston and UTSA have played in back-to-back overtimes the last 2 weeks of the season. Quinn Ewers is listed as day-to-day. So is the quarterback Hudson Card. So is Bijan Robinson. It's anybody's guess. From what I've read about Steve Sarkisian, the Austin media did ask who took first team snaps with the first team during practice on Monday, and his response was that was for him to know. So they are holding their cards very close. No pun intended there with Hudson Card. But let me say this. You know, I'm a diehard Texas fan. The loss to Alabama was hurtful, but it was not painful. Painful was Red River in 2021. Painful was Lubbock in 2008. Those were painful losses. But the loss to Alabama was just hurtful. Just hurtful. And that's because I'm somebody who very much believes elite teams win close games like that. That's what won for Alabama. They are an elite program. Texas is between decent and good, and I'm not sure where. So, again, to go back to 4 words that I hate in sports, you have to let it play out. And we'll see what Marble Falls. We'll see what the Texas Longhorns do on Saturday. It's anybody's guess, but I can assure you that UTSA team will come motivated and ready. And I am of the belief that even though Jeff Traylor signed a long-term deal, there is a clause in his contract that stipulates that if A&M or UT come calling, he can get out of that contract and take one of the top 2 premier jobs in the state of Texas on the collegiate level.
Well, speaking of A&M, in my stories in the Beacon on the Big 12, I always mention A&M for sure because there's so much interest in the Aggies. And they were just flat out terrible in a 17-14 loss to Appalachian State on Saturday, totaling something like 185 yards total offense, which is horrible these days. And I'm sure that Jimbo Fisher is having a very pressure-filled week getting ready for Miami at home.
I do not buy into the theory that the Aggies will have the same effort against the Hurricanes on Saturday. I think you will see a better.
It better be better. I'll assure you.
I do think that I know several Aggies. The word pride can be closely associated with A&M. I just don't believe that one loss will beat this team twice. I just don't see that. I don't. Now, could you say they overlooked Appalachian State? I doubt that because Appalachian State has won at some traditional powerhouse or top 10 programs in the past.
Well, they were coming off a 63-61 loss to well-respected North Carolina, Mac Brown's team, and Appalachian State in that game scored 40 points in a losing cause in the 4th quarter. So certainly they're a team to be reckoned with, and I don't know what happened to A&M, but it was ugly.
Sure. Well, like I said, I just think A&M will bounce back. I really, really do. I think that you learn a lot more from losses than you do from wins. I think that Jimbo Fisher will have his quarterback ready to go. I think that learning curve and what happened will benefit A&M in the long term. I really do. I hate to say it that way because nobody enjoys losing. None of us enjoy losing. And like I said, the loss to Alabama on Saturday was hurtful. It was not painful. Painful was Lubbock, Texas in 2008. That was painful. That one, to this day, every time I see Crabtree, when I know that clip is coming, I flip the channel. To this day.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think.
But one more quickie thing about A&M. One of the problems is that SEC is so tough, and I'm not just talking about Alabama and Georgia. They're just there are teams up and down the road that can beat you, and 3 out of Texas A&M's next 4 opponents are Miami, Alabama, and Arkansas. Not in that order, but order enough.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, then, I think we are done here. Again, for your local sports news, go to TexasChalkTalk.com. That's where you'll find everything you want to know about Island Lake sports. And please like, subscribe, and share the channel. For our Dlugach, I'm Jennifer Fierro. We will catch you next week.